versions.
Yeah.
Because it is about being in researching your own life, in self-inquiry, without judgment, being in that neutral space. And if he had at any moment in time, tossed any of these letters because he just felt like, oh, I don't want anybody to see this, it's not finished, or it's not what I really think, we would have lost so much. I mean, it's such a valuable thing to have all of the progression here.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why we thought this was important, is that we are all in process. We're all becoming. And none of it looks perfect. No, but all of it put together at some point really points to that direction that he's talking about.
I think in your practice of just trying to express whatever is coming up for you in the moment, over time, saving that, looking back on it, you will start to see what things are important to you, what themes bubble up to the surface, how you hone that vision over time.
And I think it's all of our work to really find out who we are, because if we can kind of show up in a more authentic way, it just adds much more value and joy and quality to the world.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and jot down those ideas and those thoughts.
And if you want to share them with us, please email us at hello@brucelee.com. Our next segment is Awesome Asians and Happas. And this segment is a space where we honor and give a shout out to awesome Asians and Happas doing cool stuff in the world, as Bruce Lee would have wanted. So who do we have today?
Today is a very personal one. I wanted to give a shout out to Taki Kimura. For those of you who don't know, now Taki is not like this, super famous person out in the world. He's the Japanese-American martial artist who is best known as being one of my dad's best friends, essentially. He was one of my dad's top students, closest friends. He was the best man at my parents' wedding. And he was the first person that my father certified to teach his art and his first assistant instructor. And he was one of the pallbearers at my father's funeral. He was, just one of our family's best friends. And, I wanted to just highlight Taki because he has stayed, first of all, he's born in 1924. So he is 93 now, almost 93, 92. And he's still going strong in Seattle. He goes every year on July 20th to my father's gravesite, and he and his students clean the grave area. They pay their respects. He has continued to teach my father's art nonstop throughout his life since being certified. And also, Taki and his family were interned during World War II. First at Tule Lake and later at Minidoka internment camps. And it was very hard on Taki. He was not able to graduate from high school because his family were put into these camps. And when he emerged from the camp, he was very broken and downtrodden, and he lacked motivation because he didn't have a high school degree and he didn't know what to do. He was facing a lot of prejudice and racism that continued after the war for some time. And then he met my father when he was in his mid-30s. And my dad was 18.
Wow.
And they just hit it off immediately. And Taki has always sort of credited my father with renewing his spirit and bringing him back to life and teaching him martial arts and giving him something to focus his life on. And, Taki has lived a quiet life. His family owned a supermarket in Seattle area and worked there, and he trained people in the basement for free. Always for free. All this time. So I just wanted to say you're a beautiful human being, a beautiful man, a dedicated man, such a wonderful friend to my family, and you're awesome. Thank you.
You're awesome, Taki.
And now it's time for a Bruce Lee moment. A Bruce Lee moment is a moment in your life, or several moments in your life, when my father's philosophy may have spoken to you in a very clear way that motivated you in some way, inspired you in some way, or just woke you up in some way. So who is our Bruce Lee moment?
Our Bruce Lee moment today comes from Felix Sin from Hamburg, Germany.
Wow.
Felix writes, Dear Shannon and Sharon, I wanted to share my thoughts with you because my spiritual connection to Bruce Lee and the impact to my life has been so huge and deep for many years now. That's why I'm unbelievably thankful for the Bruce Lee podcast and for your work to get Bruce Lee's rights back and keeping the spirit alive to help others. As I listened to the podcast the first time, a new world opened to me, and it was like a missing part which I was searching in my heart all the time. So first of all, I have to tell you that there's no single Bruce Lee moment in my life. There are probably hundreds of it, so it's much bigger than one moment. I moved away from my family and friends, South Germany, up north to Hamburg, where I'm going on my own way and where I'm founded my company. And I'm not only working on the company, but also on myself and on being myself, which seems to be a lifetime challenge. I am 28 years old now, and there's nobody who I could copy, nobody who tells me what to do, and no mentor. And although I did not know too much about Bruce's person, I felt his philosophy. It felt like some of his spirit lives in me all the time. And now I hear all the information about him and his philosophy in the podcast. It is like you would tell me all these things that I already had in my heart, but just couldn't express in words like Bruce did. Now I can finally try to get a clear understanding about him and his philosophy, and he seems to be more available as a mentor. But not only as this, as I am born 1988, I'm second generation, the Bruce Lee spirit also connects me with my father. He was also a fighter and a Bruce Lee fan when he was young, when martial arts came around the globe. I think it must have been the 80s when he bought a Bruce Lee necklace. Now I have got it since I was a child, and I treat it like my treasure. This is a thing in real life which represents Bruce Lee's spirit for me and which helps me with my Bruce Lee moments whenever I need to be brave and strong in trying to empty my mind. Enclosed you will see a picture of me and the necklace. I'm pretty sure that I will give this necklace to my son and hope my son will also feel the spirit. So I can just ask you for continuing with your work, and once again, thank you very much. Greetings from Hamburg, Germany, Felix Sin.
Thank you, Felix. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love the multi-generational aspect of it as well. You know, I mean, because we're in a time and place where so many people were not even born when my father was alive and are still encountering him.
Is this loss?
I believe the movie has a universal theme. Now, I belong to a comedy theater company called Shochiku Shinkigeki. We recreate laughter and tears in everyday settings. When I saw the movie, I felt as if the modern world had turned into a period drama, and that everyone got dragged into war without realizing, after starting to fight one another.
People get used to war.
That's right. Ordinary people go to war, but lead ordinary lives. It's like war creeps in without ever making a sound. I think that's a terrifying point this entertaining movie makes, and I hope you don't mind how I describe the word.
Let's quickly take a look at this pamphlet for the movie. It lists some of the 7,000 people who have invested in the production. Their names also appear on screen at the end of the film.
The producers took an unconventional route to finance the project. They used crowdfunding to solicit numerous small investments from ordinary people. 7,000 2,000 people invested a total of more than $600,000. Many have said they were moved by the original manga. Many also live in Hiroshima. Without these funds, the film could not have been made.
I think support for the movie quickly spread.
Satoshi Morimoto contributed about $90. He wanted to keep his grandmother's memory of the war alive. The grandmother, Asuko, lived in Kure during the war. Morimoto says she often told him about her experiences there.
My grandma said she could almost see the face of a U.S. fighter plane gunner as he fired his weapon. She said she had a nervous breakdown and moved from the city.
Air raids on Kure killed 2,000 civilians. Asuko lost her friends. Morimoto says that after watching the film, he began to appreciate more deeply the fact his grandmother survived the war. He thinks he can trust the film to pass on his grandmother's experience to his one-year-old daughter in the future.
The life we have now, our families, everything could suddenly be lost. Not just through war, but in a natural disaster or through illness. The movie's heroine and my grandmother both love to laugh. I hope that we can also be like them, enjoying our lives today with plenty of smile.
In Hiroshima, where the story is set, the movie has had a big impact on people who feel pressed to deal with fading memories of the atomic bombing.
もう新井さんの体にズーンというですね、ものすごい衝撃を新井さんは感じたんだそうです。
Koyu Watanabe is a storyteller at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. He's alarmed by the deaths of A-bomb survivors, whose stories he tries to pass on. Watanabe says the movie has given him hope that it's possible to reach out beyond generations.
The detailed illustrations of daily life help create a sense of reality. The story strongly appeals to audiences. The message sinks into their hearts. That's something I could really use in my storytelling.
Others were surprised the movie has